Hey guys, so last weekend was the Invitationals week for the AKC or the American Kennel Club. So, for those who don't know, Invitationals week is a comprehensive setup. They have confirmation, they have rally, they have dot diving, they have agility, and everything is all under one roof in one big convention complex. This year it was in Orlando, Florida, so right down the road from the House of Mouse. And I did have a few friends run down there. Unfortunately, I didn't make it to invitationals this year, but I thought today it would be really fun to just look at a few of the courses that they ran down at the invitationals and just kind of discuss what type of skills these handlers would need, discuss kind of the difference between maybe invitational agility and FCI or nationals. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, I do want to clarify, I'm not an agility judge and I'm not a course designer. I do trial secretary work and I'm a competitor myself. So I do show at master excellent level with one of the dogs that I run. So this type of course right here is something I would run myself, even though I was not at nationals. That being said, I had friends there. They were able to tell me a lot about the courses, but I'm not a judge. I didn't design this. I don't know anything about as far as like what judges are looking for specifically when they're making a course. And a lot of that's probably very dependent to the judge and the venue. And then also in invitationals, I just want to say this was the invitational. So you can see right there, Agility Invitational. And this is the jumpers course we're going to look at first. Now, invitationals are different from nationals. The National Agility Championship is held in March of every year. And that is a precursor to the World Team Tryouts. So at Invitational, this is more of a showcase style. It's not in that FCI, international style course. It's a very traditional American Kennel Club course, and there's only going to be 5 dogs of every breed invited. Now, that doesn't mean that 5 dogs in like 5 dogs of every single breed showed up. In fact, I think in a lot of breeds there were only maybe one or two that showed up, but that does mean that there's only 5. So versus at nationals where in the 20-inch jump height it is almost all border collies. Um, and it's basically any dog that qualifies for nationals, as long as the handlers want to go and try to get there, they want to go, they want to travel, they want to compete, they can, as long as they qualified with the correct double of number cues and mock points that year. Now, the flip side of that here at the Invitational, it's just you're only competing against the dogs in your breed to get that invite, but there's only 5 invites. And then, of course, you have to look at travel. The invitational is being held in Orlando. I do know some of the top dogs were in Alaska and some of the top dogs were on the West Coast. And unfortunately, their handlers just weren't able to travel. This does sometimes happen with nationals as well. So it's something you have to be aware of that the dogs you're seeing are at invitationals. These dogs are the top, one of the top 5 in their breed, plus their handlers can make it. And of course, they have junior showmanship, they have a junior agility showcase, they have a junior rally showcase, and these are open shows for junior handlers. So it's basically just a week thing of dog show. With that being said, let's go ahead and look at this was round 1. This is the jumpers course. So the thing about jumpers, most of the time for us that are competing in AKC regularly, jumpers is our second or third, sometimes fourth run of the day, depending on if you're doing either fast or time to beat, like whatever you've done in the morning. So for this to be your first run in the day, it's just rough. We're used to having standard first, um, and jumpers, there's no contacts, so it's just all gas the whole time. And I do like, though, just looking at this course, You've got a couple of traps here. So the dogs are going to go 1, 2. Now, the dogs are probably want to go, they're probably going to run right here and want to take jump 6 straight into that tunnel, but they aren't supposed to. So we would call that a jump tunnel trap or a tunnel trap. So they're supposed to kind of curve to the right here and then cross back into that tunnel. And then they come out and they go 6, 7, 8. And then because the dogs have already ran that sequence once, they're going to try to cut left. So you're going to have to call your dog really, really hard to get them over this broad jump. This looks great, 9 to 10. This is a nice entry. I don't remember anybody having too many problems with it. 11, 12, 13, 14 is right here. Here, let me pull this up. That'll be a little easier for you guys. There, this will be a little easier for y'all to see. So then you got 14, 15. Now, the other thing that's going to be really hard is dogs tend to get stuck on straight lines, because that's the first thing we teach them in agility is a straight line sequence. So some dogs, I did see 1 or 2, they went from 14 and they tried to take 1 instead of cutting back to the left to go 15, 16, 17, 18. And this right here, this is what got a lot of people. So the problem here is this is a really hard. So the dog has been running on a curve to the left, a curve counterclockwise, and now they're switching. And that is a hard turn. I don't know, it's probably a 180-degree turn. That's a pretty sharp turn right there to go out. And this ring was 100 by 90, but it's really tight. Like all of this space down here could have been utilized. So this is a really sharp turn. A lot of dogs knocked that bar at 17. So they got the jump, come through the weave poles. Let me zoom in for you. So a lot of the dogs got it from 10. They went through the weave poles, jump here, because they come out of the weave poles and they're already on the correct angle. They're already on the correct free lead leg to go 11 to 12. But then as they come out and they have to switch legs real fast right here, some dogs really struggle with that. So I saw that 17 bar go down a lot. And what I heard from my friends who were there, the handlers that I talked to, they all said the same thing. They said it was a sharp turn. A lot of the times these dogs were ahead of them. They had to call really hard. And so the dogs were like trying to turn as they were jumping, and it was tripping them up. But as long as you have a good send to tunnel so that you, the handler, didn't get stuck up in this area over here with 4, 5, and 6, as long as your dog has good weaves where you don't have to sit there and baby them, so you could kind of get here to get your dog over, because I did see one dog, he took 11 and then he tried to take 16. I don't know if it was a girl or boy dog, but I did see a few, I think 2, maybe, I know 1, maybe 2, try to go straight. So as long as you can leave your dog over here at the weave so that you could kind of get in this area to steer them, and then as long as your dog has a really, really good collection and could, collect themselves, get over the jump, and make that turn safely. It wasn't too bad. Looks like a really fun course to run. I will probably be setting up one of these after we get back from our Covington trial here pretty soon. So overall, not a bad course. Now I will say it's 100 by 90. A lot of our rings are 100 by 100 or 100 by 120. So it's a little smaller. This is pretty standard for an indoor ring, which it was indoors. So pretty standard for an indoor ring, but for your bigger dogs, your 20-inch jumpers, which is where I saw that 17 bar go down a lot. As long as the dog has the correct collection and power. Some of these dogs who jump a little flat, or, if they were tired, maybe they've been showing in other stuff. Um, Maybe they're just having a bad day. Maybe they're a little sore from their trip. If they've got a long travel, then this tight turn here and then this pinwheel that's really tight, um, definitely tricked a few up and could be a little difficult. But overall, pretty standard course. I don't see anything too nasty. If you're running at the master excellent level, this is about what you would expect. I don't see anything particularly nasty in it. So let's go ahead and look at round two. Now, so American Agility AKC 20th Agility Invitational. This is round two. This is standard. Now, a lot of people prefer standard, and the reason why are these contacts. If you are new to the world of agility, you have equipment that contains contacts. These are areas of the equipment that your dog must hit with at least 1 foot in order for them to have considered successful on that obstacle. If the dog is not successful, then you do not get credit for that obstacle, and therefore you could potentially be disqualified from the course. That really depends on the club or organization you run in. In the American Kennel Club, if you do not hit a contact, you are disqualified. If you knock down a bar, you are disqualified. Runouts and refusals give you time penalties. So obviously the goal is, we say, to run clean. So that means no mistakes anywhere. So no time penalties, no runouts, no refusals, and that you finish it within the standard course time. And of course, if you are at the invitational, the goal is to get to the finals. And to get to finals, you had to run 3 clean rounds. You had to run round 1, which is the jumpers that we looked at. Round 2 is standard, which we're going to talk about in just a second. And round 3 is the hybrid round, which I'm not going to look at that map. Most people, if they missed the hybrid, it was because the dog was tired. From what I saw, from what I heard, please let me know in the comments if your experience was different. I also did not get to watch as much of the hybrid because I had some other stuff going on. So I wasn't really able to see what tripped everybody up. So I'm not going to look at the hybrid, and I'm not looking at finals because I was at agility practice myself and didn't see those. But that's why we're just looking at round 1 and round 2. But I'd love to hear how your dogs did at the invitationals if you went, or I'd love to hear your thoughts on the course analysis. Um, so with all of that said, let's look at this round right here. 1 and 2, this has been the entry. I've been to 6 shows in the past 4 months, and I think every single standard course I have run is this tired dog walk, broad jump. I don't know. Is there something going on in the judges? Are y'all in a group chat all deciding this or something? Is there some conspiracy? Because I hate this entry. I hate the dog walk being the second thing because I want to lead out and get ahead of my dog. I hate this. Nobody had a problem with it though. It's a very easy start to run. Pretty, straight on. Here's your tire, here's your dog walk. Come off the dog walk, take the curve. Not a problem. 5, 4, this is your tunnel trap. This got so many dogs. You're flying, right? So you come off the dog walk. Most of the dogs in Master Excellent, they have running contacts. Stopped contacts is where you actually have the dog stop for a second in that contact zone. Running contact is where the dog runs through the contact zone and then continues on. I use stopped contacts on one dog. I use running contacts on another. So doesn't really matter. Pick your poison. So they fly over here, and they take jump 4. And a lot of dogs are gonna, because we practice this for another class called Fast, they are immediately going to assume that they are headed to that tunnel. And a lot of dogs took the tunnel, when in actuality, you need to cut hard right and go into this little sequence. The other thing that happened a lot is not only did the dog cut into the tunnel, but then when the dog came out of the tunnel, they took this jump backwards. So that would give you two faults because that's also so wrong course here, wrong course here. So that gives you 10 seconds of a time penalty right there. So 4, 5, 6 right here. And then 7 flips over here. It looks like some type of wall jump or a triple maybe. No, I bet that was the triple. I think this was the triple. This was probably a double or a panel jump. That was the panel jump. And then 8 weave poles. That's a pretty nice weave pole entry. I really like these. I like where the dog kind of has that pole to like lean on and get their head around to really keep them in the weave poles. I hate entering from this side. So that's really nice right there. So weave, 9, 10 A-frame. That's a really pretty line. I didn't see anybody have any problems with it. The one thing I did see is if you have a dog, this looks about 15 feet. If you have a dog that doesn't have a 15-foot send to tunnel, you are going to be stuck running around this jump. So you're right here, right? So your dog is weaving and you're like right here on this line, but you need to get here. So if you can't send your dog to the tunnel from right here, that's about 15 feet, and send your dog to that tunnel, you have to run up to the tunnel with them. And then you have to cut around this number 5 jump. And actually, it didn't happen this year, but at trials, I have seen somebody try to cut over and they have clipped a jump and knocked the whole jump down, and that's a disqualification. So ideally, you would send your dog here and you, the handler, would cut straight over and you would stand right here, somewhere, yeah, somewhere here, and call your dog, and then y'all would continue on. That didn't happen. I would say it was 50-50. About half of the handlers did really good on this, and half of the handlers did not. So something to be aware of. 12, 13, 14. This is just a really tight jumping sequence. It's really easy to get lost in all these jumps, especially for the little dogs. I did see a couple of little dogs just get lost. It was like they couldn't see their handler because you've got these wings that are, I don't know, they're hip height on me and I'm 5'6", so they're probably what, 3.5 feet tall? Wings on the side of these jumps. So it's not always easy for the dogs to know where we are. So 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and you're done. I distinctly remember telling my friend, as long as you don't get lost in the pinwheel, and as long as your dog doesn't fall for the tunnel trap, the course will be easy. And I still stand by that. Everything looks so pretty. If you get through this tunnel trap right here, and if your dog listens, because you're going to remember that that's a tunnel trap. If your dog listens and does not fall for the trap, and then you get to here, and most people practice a pinwheel at this level. Pinwheels aren't the problem. It's you come out and you have to remember that 12 is here, not here, because a lot of us would want to come straight and do our pinwheel reverse. So that's just something to remember. As long as you get in that pinwheel correctly and you remember that 17 is here so you can get out of it on the right jump, you're going to be golden. And that's just, working your course, memorizing it, really knowing your map, and really just being able to focus and pay attention. Some distance is going to help here. I wouldn't even say you have to have distance to get through this pinwheel. This is a tight pinwheel. I mean, this is probably all 15 feet. I mean, this is the bare, I would say close to the minimum, not maybe the bare minimum, but this is close to the minimum you need for a pinwheel. So obviously it would be great if you could stay right here, but not necessary. 17, 18, not as sharp as 17, 18 on the standard course. If you remember 17, 18, that's the dog's going to run this way. So they're going to do 16, 17, 18 for jumpers. That's a really sharp, I mean, that's almost an L shape versus this one is a lot softer. So they're going just like that. It's a lot softer line, which is good. So I don't know. It looks really fun. I would run it. I don't see anything. I have seen some nasty stuff. There wasn't a serpentine, there wasn't a threadle, there wasn't a backside, or a push. There's not, I've seen back-to-back tunnel traps. There can be two tunnels in a course. Um, I don't see, I don't see anything that's just like, ooh, this is really mean. Not the way I have at invitationals. Sometimes I'm sorry, nationals. Those national courses are rough. Um, they're very technically challenging. This just looks like a nice standard operating procedure master excellent course. It's got a few challenges in it, nothing wild. Overall, I kind of felt like that for all of the maps that I looked at for the invitational. And I think that's because the invitational is more of a breed showcase. Now it's still a competition. People are competing to have the best dog of whatever breed, and they're competing to win the invitational. That's a big deal. There's I think close to 200 dog breeds. Let me Google that. Let's see. How many dog breeds does AKC recognize? Okay, so I was right. There's 202 dog breeds with the American Kennel Club. Okay. That doesn't necessarily count some of the in progress breeds. So, 202 dog breeds, the top 5 from each breed was asked to come to the invitational, and then they also invited the top 5 mixed breed dogs to come to the invitational. So, lots of dogs there, but also remember that some of these people, in your non-traditional breeds, these aren't these aren't people who make agility their job. And these aren't people who are trying to go to the nationals. They're not trying to go to the world team. They're not trying to compete at Westminster, at the mock invitational or the mock championship. Um, some of these people may only compete, once a month for fun. And it just because they have an uncommon breed. In agility, it's border collies, Shetland sheepdogs, Australian shepherds, miniature poodles, believe it or not, papillons. And then you have some hybrid crosses or sport bred crosses like border paps. Miniature Americans are getting really, really popular, but those are like the top dog breeds. Of course, Malinois are starting to get popular. They are popular, but they're getting to be a little bit more common. Um, but that's 10 breeds that are almost always at agility. And then you have now, but there's 202 breed options for the AKC invitationals. And so that's kind of the trick there is there were dogs there that on the world team, there were dogs there who are killing it in the international spectra, such as Pink. Pink was there. She was actually ran by a junior handler in the junior handler competition. Pink is an internationally recognized border collie. And then there were, you know, Westies. You know, one of my friends that was there, she runs Westies, but they're just not as common. Um, so it's just one of those things where like you never really know. So I think the judges try to recognize that not everyone there is running on an FCI level, and it's still a Master Excellent course because it is an invitational, and that's the level we're running, but they're trying to make it fun and trying to make it more of a breed showcase and a fun competition than it is they're trying to make something that's really high stakes. And I appreciate the judges for that. I think the courses look great. They look really fun. from what I heard, there weren't any major complaints. Sounds like the turf and things like that were handled really well. Maybe one day I'll be there. I do have a mini poodle now, so maybe not. There's a lot of them that run agility. But thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know how your dog did. If you were at invitationals, let me know what you thought of the course analysis. Did I miss anything? Do you agree with anything? And also let me know if you are going to set up these courses and run them on your own. So thank you so much, guys. Y'all have a great day.